ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the BI Breakdown. And we have with us no other than Brent Kesler himself. Brent, I appreciate you being with us today. And I do have a lot of, well, not a lot, but some questions for you.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to be able to answer, ask those questions to you and, of course, get your answers. So the first thing I wanted to start with, Brent, is that you actually did something that I was very interested in doing. And I wish I would have continued to school to do it, is a chiropractor. And right now, I don't know if you know this, but chiropractors are like some of the top streaming content creators online right now, especially like YouTube. So watching people get chiropractic adjustments. All right, how familiar are you with that? And do you kind of miss being in that field, or how was it being a chiropractor and compared to what you do now?
Yeah, no, well, great, man. Robert, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me on. So yeah, as you know, my background is a chiropractor, right? And no, I didn't know that was, I mean, okay, that so like chiropractors were the top streamers or they were doing stuff online. I wasn't, just really familiar with that. I can tell you that I never did any of that. I never really did anything online,
Yeah,
so as a chiropractor, but, again, I mean, things have kind of changed, right, over the last several years, and how we market and like contact people or reach out to people. Especially like going through COVID and everything. All the live events kind of closed down and shut down, and everybody was doing Zoom and Facebook and different presentations like over the internet and virtually and stuff like that.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, so of course, I mean, I loved it back at the time, that I was a chiropractor. And again, I'm still a chiropractor. I just don't practice anymore, right? But anyway, I did
yeah, yeah. Right.
like enjoy that. I love the people, I love the patients. But the thing I didn't like about it is I didn't like to have to be at the same location every time, every day at a certain time, right? Because in order to treat your patients, you had to go to the office from like 9 to 1 and 3 to 6, every day of the week or the days that you were open. So doing the stuff I do now, I get to travel the country and, I get to basically go to work from about any place that I want to be at. Um, because I mean, quite a bit of the stuff I do now is online or phone calls or emails or, doing Zoom calls like this and things like that. So unless I'm scheduled to be at a live event, and a live event is only, usually a couple hours or maybe a day at a time, I'm able
Yeah,
to do this from anywhere. So, um, so I do miss the patients, the interactions with the patients, and kind of seeing them respond and how they do and how they get better. But I wouldn't trade this, for the world. I tell people all the time the thing I love most about
yeah,
my job now is that so nobody's ever mad at me, right? Because if people don't get mad at you when you're helping them keep, build, and create wealth, right? Um, and if I do have someone that's mad at me, they're keeping it a secret. They haven't told me about it. So as a
yeah,
chiropractor,
yeah.
though, I would have patients that would come in and they would be mad because, for example, a patient, Mary, comes in the office and she says, "Hey, doc, I've been coming here for 2 weeks and I still have back pain. My back still hurts." And I'd have to say, "Well, Mary, it didn't come on overnight. It's not going to go away overnight. So it takes a little time." So,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
but that's the way a lot of people are. They expect the instant results, that instant gratification. They expect to come in 1, 2 visits and they're all better and they go back. But that's not the way it usually works in the chiropractic field or the healthcare field for that matter. You usually don't
yeah,
go in and have one treatment or two treatments. I guess it depends what it is. And all of a sudden it's all better. Usually you have to continue to follow up or change your habits and your health patterns as right. So the things that you're doing in this business, we're giving people the tools, we're giving people those financial tools to be able to use the tools that the wealthy have been using for over 200 years. And now all we're doing is we're showing them how to use the tools, right? It's not like it's brand new and
exactly.
we're reinventing the wheel or anything. These are brand new, right? So anyway, it's not a brand new concept. The concept's been around for over 200 years. It's just brand new to them. So we have to show them how to use those tools. So anyway, that's what I love about what we do now. And again, the thing we're doing
Yeah,
is we're helping people to break those bonds of like financial slavery they don't even realize they're in, and start taking control of their own wealth and their own money instead of letting other people keep control of it.
Hey man, I only had 8 questions for you, Brent, but you done. I think you knocked out a couple of them in one.
All right. Well, hey, I'll see you next
In
time. Thanks
one.
for having me on.
Hey, hey, dude, that's crazy. So one of the things I was gonna go to next, and like I said, you everything you were talking about is like great follow up. But one of the things I want to go to next, Brent, is I want to talk about you being a pilot. So tell us a little bit about uh, your experience with flying, and then as well, like man, yeah, you have a crazy lifestyle. I know I'm a person where people tell me you do quite a few things. You're one of those people too, and I like that about you too, because the best stories that you hear about people are the people that's kind of like bigger than life. So you kind of like figure out like how did this person do all these different things, and they were good at more than one thing. So how is it being a pilot, and of course too I do want to get into you owning some planes as well a little bit down the road in this. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, like, and again, I haven't been a pilot, like my whole life. I didn't get my pilot's license until, oh, probably about 20 years ago, 2003 or 2004. And, so as we sit here today in
Long
2023,
time.
I'm age like 55. So I didn't become a pilot till I was like 35. And, I kind of got the bug because my brother-in-law, he is a pilot. And, so, and again, I remember him telling me, he says, okay, if you go up on this plane, this flight is kind of like the introductory flight to kind of get the experience and stuff. He said, you're going to either hate it or you're going to love it and you're going to get the bug and you're going to want to do it. Well, that's what happened to me. I went up on this introductory flight and I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. I got to learn how to fly this airplane, right? And that's was back in Kansas City. That's back when I was living in Kansas City. And so I went through. I got my pilot's license, and um, so again, I mean, I wanted it really just because. I mean, I just thought it was cool to be able to fly. I didn't realize all the benefits it would give me down the road as things went on, and in my life later. Um, but so yeah, I just made the decision and I said, "Hey, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to get my pilot's license." And again, I mean, it was a bit challenging for me because I'm not a good test taker. I was never a good test taker in school, so I got kind of nervous about taking tests and things like that. But anyway, I kind of went through the process, went through the motions, ended up getting my pilot's license. And then after I got my pilot's license, you can fly this plane by yourself. So I thought that was pretty cool. I had to take my wife on the plane, had to take my friends on a plane ride and stuff like that. And then eventually I said, okay, well, I think I want to get my own airplane, right? Um, so anyway, I bought my first airplane before I even knew about internet banking and how you could buy the airplane and recapture and recycle and get all the money back. Um, so so anyway, I did that. So anyway, there's a lot of static on my end. Are you good? There's no static on your end.
No, yeah, no, no, you're all
Good,
good.
good.
Sometimes it can seem like that online virtually, but once it comes through, it should be good.
Okay, got it. So yeah, so anyway, after I got my pilot's license, I said, hey, I got to get an airplane. So I found this airplane, the same kind of plane I learned to fly in, which was a Cessna 172, like a high wing Cessna Skyhawk, which are very good trainer planes. They're very forgiving, and I mean, it's hard to mess up in one of those. You almost have to really just purposely try to mess up because it's very safe and forgiving. So even if you mess up, I mean, a bit, the plane will correct itself. So it's just the way they're built. Um, so yeah, I started flying back and forth to the Lake of the Ozarks from Kansas City, which in a car ride it would have been about 3.5 hours. In a little airplane ride, it was an hour, right? So I'd fly back and forth to the Lake of the Ozarks, and um, so then I just continued to fly, and then eventually I moved to Florida in 2017, and I actually moved to an airplane community to where we have hangars attached to our house in this community called Spruce Creek, which is in Port Orange, Florida, about an hour east of Orlando, bumps up next to Daytona Beach, and and then so ever since that time we kind of upgraded. We went from a Cessna 20 or a Cessna 172, then we upgraded to a Cessna 206, which was a high wing plane as well, but it only held it, but this one held 6 people instead of 4. And then we upgraded to a turbine. We got a Meridian, a Piper Meridian, um, which that goes higher and faster. And then this past June, we upgraded to a Pilatus. And a Pilatus, and anyway, this plane holds 10 people total. The 2 people up front and then 8 in the back. And basically, you can throw as much on that plane as you want. So now I don't know how to fly that plane. So there's a pilot that we have that flies the plane, but then I also have that 206 that I can fly myself as well. So that's the plane that I fly.
How many planes does that make? How many planes does that make total? And also, too, I want to ask is I know you said the first plane you didn't know about infinite banking, which means all the other planes you did know about
Right.
infinite banking. So I know you upgrade would mean that you might have exchanged one.
Yeah,
So how many planes? I know that's about I counted about 4 or 5 total.
yeah.
Because you're doing the ZO6 or something like that at the end. So, how many planes do you have currently? And then I'm assuming after the first one, you did the other planes through your policies,
Oh
right?
yeah, absolutely. All the other planes were through the policy. Like
Okay.
if and again, I'm sure. Well, I know that you've seen my presentation. A lot of your viewers may have
Oh
seen,
yeah.
my presentation. And so in that presentation, I talk about the $25,000 car example, right? And in that $25,000 car example, I show you how you can recycle and regenerate all the money back and get all the money back for the car plus have the car. Well, my very first airplane I bought, I paid $101,000 for it. I didn't understand the banking concept at that time. So I just paid for the airplane. The next plane I got,
Okay.
I upgraded to is so now I understood the banking concept for the second airplane. I paid $570,000 for that airplane. I understood the banking concept. So all I really did, Robert, is I took that car example that I show you about a $25,000 car, and I put those numbers into that same type of spreadsheet, right? The only difference was the numbers were greater than the one I showed you with the $25,000 car, and this was a $570,000 airplane. So, and then um, so I did the exact same thing that I did for the $25,000 car that I did with the $570,000 airplane. It's the same concept. It's just the numbers are different. That's it. So then that was in 2014 or 2015. I bought that airplane. And then the next airplane was June of 2020. I upgraded and I paid just for that plane, the Piper Meridian. I paid $1,610,000 for that airplane. So again, same concept. It's just a bigger number. That's it. So at the end of the day, you
Yeah.
can still recycle, recapture, get all of the money back. So then in June of 2022, so what, 7, 8 months ago, I upgraded again and we went to a $3.1 million Pilatus, the 10-seater Pilatus. Same exact thing. It's just a bigger number. Then I went back and I said, well, I can't fly the Pilatus, so I need to go buy another 206. So I'm on my second 206,
Yeah.
a plane that I could fly. I bought it brand new from the factory. I paid right around 800 for that. But same thing. Both of those planes are now in that banking policy, that banking system where I bought the plane. I bought it just like anyone else would buy the plane, but I added one extra step. I put the money in the policy, and then from the policy, now I go buy the airplane. That's it. Just like the car example.
So,
Same thing.
Brent, Brent, I would be lying if I told you I'm not. I know this. I'm still blown away by it. Because when you break it down the way you broke it down is you spoke about it before, but the way you just broke it down now is like step by step how you did this is crazy because I'm thinking numerically, I counted, I want to say $5 million of rotation.
Yeah.
out of your own banking system. So every purchase that you made allowed you to make a better purchase the next time.
Yeah.
And you all you did was you just increased your wealth using literally the infinite banking concept, using your own money in your own banking system. And so that guys, that's huge. And that, Brent talks about this a lot as far as paying off debt inside of his presentation, as well as Brent likes to talk about, just like he did now, it's planes, how you're able to recapture your wealth and take money through your policy. And I think that's what I like the most about it, because I know you don't remember our exact conversation, but you are who talked to me on the phone. You got me started with infinite
Yeah.
banking, and long and behold, I am now a part of the Money Multiplier, which I do want to dive into now and talk a little bit about, because the banking bros. So I am one of the banking bros, and so here at the Cash Compound, and we're the banking bros at the Money Multiplier. So
Right.
that online educational platform, providing people the education that they need to understand infinite banking, but the Money Multiplier really taking people through and helping them understand the process of getting started with a policy, and actually helping people get started with policies. And so, how was it, building the Money Multiplier out to what it is now, and more importantly, kind of where do you see the future going with that?
Yeah, it's just, and again, I mean, Robert, it's just one person at a time, and all we're doing is we're helping people. We're giving them the gift of how to build, keep, and create financial wealth in their family without taking any risk, without changing their cash flow, and they don't have to do any harder work, right? It's not like they have to work harder, and they never lose control of their money. So, what can be greater than that? You're in total 100% control of everything that you're doing. There is no financial vehicle on this planet that allows you to do this that has these features and benefits. And if there is, let me know what it is, because I've been looking for it now for a
Yeah,
long time.
yeah, we want to know.
Yeah,
We
I
definitely
mean,
want to
there
know.
is nothing that works like this. Nothing out there on this planet that I've found. And I've been looking since 2006. And if you remember my story, back in 2006 was when I first heard about this concept. I didn't believe it. I thought it was too good to be true. I thought there had to be a catch.
Yeah,
There's no way it could work this way. It took me 2 years to start my first policy, because for 2 years I didn't believe it. I had to watch other people that heard the information the same time I heard it in 2006. I had to watch them start first to see how it worked for them. And I can tell you, I kick myself in the rear end every day for not starting when I first heard about it, because I waited 2 years to start. I have lost a lot of money, and here's why. Because hypothetically, so in 2006, so let's just say I had 50 years of life left, okay? Well, because I
okay.
wait 2 years to start, I no longer have 50 years of life. I've only got 48 years of life left. Well, as you know, the policy gets more efficient with time. Today's better than yesterday, tomorrow's better than today. That's not me telling you that. That is in the policy contract. So because I waited 2 years to start, my policy will never get through the 50-year mark. It'll only get to 48-year mark. Hypothetically saying I only had 50 years of life left to live. No matter what, I waited 2 years, so I'm never going to get the cash value growth. I'm never going to get the death benefit growth in year 49 and 50, because the policy is only going to go to year 48, right? No matter when I die, pass, or graduate, whatever word you want to use, I could have always had 2 more years had I started 2 years earlier. So I'm giving up. So I gave up all that cash value growth, all that growth in my loan availability, all that death benefit growth by waiting 2 years. So I cheated my family out of all of that money that they'll never get.
That is so powerful what you just said, man. And I think that's really key to what you just said. Out of all of the things that we talk about with infinite banking, is a lot of people talk about, everybody's getting caught up on the, the compound interest and all these other things that are real catchy and they sound really really good, but at the end of the day, it's about the core concepts around, building that wealth, controlling your financial environment, just like what R. Nelson Nash is talking about inside of his book. Of course, the creator of the infinite banking concept.
And then, also too, it's just having access to your money and controlling your money, and that's what you speak to a lot, recapturing your wealth. And more importantly is why you need to get started right away. You need to get started right away because of all the things that we said, but more importantly is the money is going to be better tomorrow than today, and the day after is going to be better than tomorrow, and the growth of the policy is over the course of our lifetime. So a lot of people kind of put it off. They don't see it as important. They kind of think it's one of those things where, okay, when I kind of get around to doing infinite banking, I'll do infinite banking when I, kind of when I feel like doing it, or I got the right amount of money, or whatever the
Yeah.
case is. And what they fail to realize is that right now you have a bank account. You already have a bank account, and you didn't wait to say, okay, let me go make a certain amount of money to start a savings account at the bank, or a checking account at the bank, or whatever the case is. So right now you need to see it in the same way. You need to be trying to take your wealth and place it somewhere where it can start working better for you. You can have more control right now, because there's no better time than now. And compound interest, if you do want to look at it in that way, works better over time.
Yeah.
Of course. So that's what we're focused on. So it's amazing being a part of the Money Multiplier, man. I'm happy that you connected me with Jonah and Jeremiah, and I thank you so much for that, man, and just being a part of this opportunity and being able to help people the way we are, and I look forward to that. So
Well, yeah, and the
just
thing is,
doing
it's
more of
what
that
you're
in the
doing.
future.
You're helping people, right? The question you asked me is like how it kind of transpired. Well, right. So I became a customer first in '08, and I started telling everybody about it, because they had to do it, right? I mean, oh my gosh, look how this is working for me. I paid off $984,711 in third party debt in 39 months. So I was naturally just telling people about it. And then I had heard that, hey, I had the opportunity to do this and teach it myself. And I didn't even know I could do that. Kind of like you probably didn't even know in the beginning you could have the opportunity to teach other people. So I became a customer in '08, and I started teaching this in March of 2012. So I'm really only um, I'm about to turn 11 years old next month, right? That's how long I've been teaching this now, is for 11 years.
Yeah.
And here we are 11 years later, over 7,000 clients later. And as I said earlier when we got on, the thing I love most about my job is nobody's mad at me. Nobody gets
Yeah,
mad at
man. Well,
you when you're helping to build, keep,
yeah.
and create wealth.
Thank you for your sacrifice. You, Jonah, and even Jeremiah, you guys being kind of the foundation, and bringing this to what it is now. Uh, to be a part of it, knowing that what we're doing, like you said, is helping people, and we're moving forward one person at a time, like you said. And when I asked you, you had such a simple answer. When I asked you about the future, you said it's one person at a time. So I like that about
That's
that.
right.
Now I want to ask you a little bit about the Super Bowl. I saw that you got to see somebody there. You and LeBron James just so happened to have the same section at the Super Bowl. So tell me a little bit about how that went. I heard he got booed at the Super Bowl. You would have seen that firsthand. How did that kind of go? How was the Super
Yeah,
Bowl?
well, I don't remember them booing LeBron James, but maybe they were. But they did boo Dak Prescott, so the Eagles fans, they booed Dak.
Oh yeah,
Eagles fans don't like Cowboys, right? So um,
yeah, I got
Dak
you. That
got
makes
the
sense.
Dak got
That
the
makes good
big
sense.
boo for sure. I don't remember. Well, and again, I'm not saying they didn't boo LeBron, because I remember going out into the hallway. I think I went to the restroom when they showed LeBron on the big screen, because they were showing different people.
Yeah, that's when they said they did it.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I was out then, so I didn't know that they booed him. But I mean, they showed other people. They had, let's see, they had Bradley Cooper there. They had Tracy Morgan was there. They showed him. They showed the singer Eilish. Her name is what's her first name? Uh, Billie Eilish.
I don't know, bro.
Billie
Hey, you'll know better than
Eilish,
me, Brent.
the
I don't.
singer. Um, they showed Griner, Brittany Griner was there.
Okay, Brittany Griner
The
was there. Okay,
basketball
yeah, they got it. They brought out
player
all the
from
stops.
Russia. Of course, they boo the commissioner of football, right?
He said the basketball player from
Or no,
Russia.
I'm sorry, the basketball player that got captured by the Russians was
Nah, nah, nah. You all good. You all good. Yeah, I know what you mean.
um, and so they booed the commissioner of the NFL. I still don't really understand why they booed the commissioner. I don't know all the ins and outs about it. But I'm a big Kansas City Chiefs fan, right? So basically, we made the decision when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. We took a day or two and said, "Hey, man, who knows if the Chiefs are ever going to get back to the Super Bowl?" I was already in Idaho at the time. We were going to head back to Florida, so we just delayed the trip and we went from Idaho to Phoenix, and we stayed in Phoenix for a few nights at an Airbnb and went to the Super Bowl. It was a good experience. I don't know that I'll ever do it again though, because you see so much more on TV. Like I didn't know Patrick Holmes, or again, I didn't know Patrick Mahomes hurt his ankle at the end of the first half, but everybody on TV knew it, right? Um, and so I didn't really know that he had hurt his ankle. I mean, I saw him limping off a bit, but I guess the commentators were making it like, oh man, he might not come back, and this and that. So um, again, there's so much more you see on TV. And the traffic, man, trying to park, it was a nightmare. That was the hardest, and we had assigned parking, but just trying to get there was a nightmare. But again, it was the experience. It was being there. Um, the halftime show with Rihanna was, I mean, I thought it was amazing. People say it was great, or people say it wasn't good at all, and I don't know where you see the difference, but I thought, I mean, I thought the halftime
Brett, you thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, and I'm
Oh
telling you, man,
boy,
they lift
yeah.
them up way in the middle of the stadium. I mean, they went really high on those platforms. And I don't know if you could see it on TV, but they were all kind of strapped on. They had a strap. So I guess if they did slip and fall, they would, the strap would catch them because they were way, way,
Yeah.
way high above the stadium. They would have never survived the fall if something would have happened. And then, of course, Damar Hamlin was there. That was pretty cool. Um,
They saw he had an interesting jacket on. A lot of people were tripping out about his jacket.
yeah,
But yeah, man. And Brent said he liked that halftime show. They were talking bad about it, but Brent said he likes it. So we're going with what you said, Brent, because you had a first hand interaction. Y'all gonna stop talking down on Riri. Brent,
yeah. No, I mean,
Brent said he liked the halftime
I
show.
mean, I mean, right. So like on my, okay, so like on my phone, I got 3 or 4 Rihanna songs on there. So I was kind of loving it.
Brent, that okay, man. So I definitely had to ask you about it because when you sent the picture, I was like, that's definitely well. It got Jonah that sent it to us, and I'm like, that's
That's right. I sent
definitely
it to,
probably who I think it is.
yeah. So,
Yeah, it's probably definitely probably LeBron James in the
but
background.
anyway, get this. I mean, I sent that picture. I don't know. I probably sent it to 10 or 12 different people. And I said, guess who this is that's sitting behind me? And there was probably, I don't know. Okay, so I sent it to 10 people. 3 or 4 people said LeBron James. But guess what the other people said? Because I showed the picture of him and his wife, right? They were sitting next to each other. So probably 3 or 4 of the 10 I sent it to said that's LeBron James. Guess what the other people said when I sent that picture to who it was? They said, "Is that Beyonce?" They didn't recognize
I'm not gonna lie.
They thought it was
I'm
Beyonce.
not lying. I thought the same thing almost at
Yeah,
first. When I first looked, I was like, she kind of looks like Beyonce from the side.
right.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, but now I was like, yeah, it's LeBron, so it has to be his
That was
wife or
LeBron
whatever.
and his
Yeah.
wife. And actually, he was in the box right behind me in the Verizon box. As you know, he does a lot of Verizon commercials, right? So, yeah, so he was sitting in the Verizon box.
That's awesome, man. What I wanted to ask you about moving on to now is Hannah. So she's a interesting character. Anybody that meets Hannah, you're gonna have an interesting conversation. Hannah's funny, man, and she has a really huge personality. And she's passionate, but she is passionate about infinite banking though. She likes to talk about it. And she's no small timer or so to speak or whatever. She knows her stuff, and she has her own policies and stuff like that as well. So I wanted to speak to you having multiple policies and having family
Yeah.
policies and generational wealth and what that looks like for you.
Yeah, no. I currently, as we sit here today, I've got 24 policies, right? I buy at least one
Okay.
policy every 1 to 2 years. I think Hannah has a half a dozen. Hannah's in the house here with me somewhere. If she comes out, I'll ask her, but I think she's got a half a
Oh
dozen.
yeah.
Um, and the thing you want to do is, as Nelson Nash talks about in this book here, this black book, Becoming Your Own Banker, he talks about on page 48. He says that premium and income should equal, right? So every dollar that runs through your hand should go in a policy, because just think about every payment you make is a deposit into somebody else's bank account. And when you make that deposit into somebody else's bank account, now they're in control of that money. Well, what you want to do is you want to make that deposit into your own bank account first, i.e., your policy. And then from your policy, now you're going to use that money to pay your debts, your expenses, your investments, whatever it is you're doing in your financial life. You want to use that money, because what we want to do is get our money into a tax-free environment, and we want that money to grow tax-free, because all the premium dollars that we pay are with after-tax dollars, which is a great thing, because that's what we want to do: pay tax on our money one time only, get that money into a tax-free environment, and get the government completely out of our hair. Yeah, so that's what we're
Got
doing
it.
with the policy. Now, the reason that you have to start additional policies is because when you start a policy, that policy is a contract. So you're telling the insurance company, for example, I want to put $1,000 a month or 12,000 a year. It doesn't matter what the number is. You're telling them that's the amount of money you want to put in the policy. So let's just kind of use the example of you're putting $1,000 a month. And now all of a sudden you're trucking down the road and you're like, man, this is working really, really good. I want to put $2,000 a month in instead of one. Well, you have to start another policy. You can't take that policy that you started 1,000 a month in and put 2,000 a month in, because it'll create that thing that Nelson talks about on page 38 of the book called a MEC, a modified endowment contract. And if your policy becomes a MEC,
Okay.
it's no longer treated as an insurance contract, it's treated as an investment, and it's subject to taxation. So that's why we have to start more policies, because you can't overfill the one you have. In other words, think of it as a glass of water. All right, for example, think of this as a 10-ounce glass. You could never get 12 ounces of water in that glass, no matter how you try or how hard you try. You have to get out another glass, it just won't hold it.
Yeah, man. That's a heck of a illustration, an analogy as well. It's similar, kind of. I gave something similar at one of the events that we had in Indiana not too long ago. We did a 3 cup setup, and so we showed people, hey, premium cup, death benefit cup, and cash value cup, and how the policy works. Similar to exactly how you're explaining it, except it's just more of a visual presentation. And I told them exactly that. Hey, you can only put so much into these cups, and this is why we all have multiple policies. So myself, I have going on 4 policies now, and so like I said, you helped me get started with my first one. You actually helped my girlfriend at the time get started with hers as well. So I appreciate just being able to go through that process. It was nice and smooth. The Money Multiplier, working with Sarah, actually. It's crazy because I work with Sarah every day now. But yeah, working with Sarah, she took me through the process. I was able to get my policy started, and so it's been great. And you'll see as you go through the process of infinite banking, you'll start to understand why you want multiple policies and why, like R. Nelson Nash said, premium should equal income. So another thing I kind of wanted to go into is just it follows up exactly what you were saying, is that I know you have a few different homes in a few different locations in Missouri. I'm looking forward. I wasn't able to come to Idaho, but I look forward to being inside Missouri and hanging out with you guys at the retreat.
Yeah.
So I will be in attendance.
Good.
So tell us a little bit about why is it that you were thinking to get multiple homes, and how did that play a part into infinite banking?
Yeah, well, it's not really about as far as that I thought about getting multiple homes. It's just like I like being at multiple places, right? So, um,
Okay.
but yeah. So anyway, back when I lived in Kansas City, I had a house in the Lake of the Ozarks, right? Because you'd go down to the lake, and the Lake of the Ozarks, um, is a pretty cool. It's like, I mean, it's just okay. So anyway, I think it's the best lake in the entire country. Over 100 miles of shoreline, and there's okay. So anyway, there's just riding jet skis and wave runners and tubing and wake boats. I mean, all kind of water stuff to do. And again, I loved it there for the summertime. Going there, and it's very peaceful as well. Um, and and so then I was in Florida, so anyway, back in 2017, the kids kind of got out of high school, and my wife and I were empty nesters, and I wanted to get out of the cold, and so I wanted to move back to Florida, which is where I was just grew up in Florida. Um, so I sold the Kansas City house, moved to Florida, and I kept the house at the Lake of the Ozarks. So now we go back and forth, to the Lake of the Ozarks. And about 3 years ago, I got the experience of going out to Idaho because my cousins live in Bozeman, Montana, and they go snowmobiling. So I went out there and kind of got hooked on that. And I'm like, this is pretty cool. We should find a place out here. And it was a great time to buy. It was like in 2019, and all of the real estate really went up in probably late 2020, right? So it was a
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
time. And so out there, I just came back Tuesday night. I came back on Valentine's Day, and I went out there on the 27th of December. So I've been out there for 6-7 weeks, whatever that was. And so as you said, Jonah and Jeremiah, and a few of the banking bros, even Will, he came out there too, to Idaho, and he went snowmobiling. So Jonah came out for the first time in March, so about a year ago, in March of 2022, and he calls me up in November and December, and he says, "Man, I want to go snowmobiling sometime again." I said, "Well, when you want to go, man, come on out." So we hooked it up where he came out in January, and he bought like 12, 13 people with him, maybe even more. Um, so yeah, they were out there for about a week, a little less than a week. So that was a good time. But so yeah, man, it just kind of happens to work out. I never plan on, doing any of this stuff. We got a couple rental houses over on Southwest Florida and Captiva Island, and Chris Noggle, as you know, Chris Noggle, the guy that wrote the book with me, Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery, he lives in
Oh yeah.
Buffalo. So I bought a house in Buffalo this past year, and we are kind of like fixing it, rehabbing it. So it's going to be so anyway, it's going to be kind of like a team house, right, for the Money Multiplier team. Whenever we're doing events in Buffalo, and people will stay there, and then when they're not staying there, it'll be an Airbnb. So kind of investment stuff as well. So it just, I don't know, man. These things just come about, an opportunity comes, and I'm saying, okay, well, that might be good to get into that. That looks like that's a good deal to get into. So I'm not really out there actively trying to find or looking for stuff. It's just stuff that comes available, and if I look at it and I think it makes sense, let's do it. Um, and obviously, I'm using money from the policy to do it, because you got to remember, the policy is not an investment. A lot of people think it's an investment because it's guaranteed to increase in value. But the
Exactly.
definition of an
Exactly.
investment, it can go up or down. A policy can never go down in value. It
Speculative.
can only go up. It's an appreciating asset. If Even if you go into a conventional bank to borrow money from a conventional bank, they ask you for your assets and your liabilities. And they give you a form to fill out, assets usually on the left, liabilities on the right. Well, in every asset statement that you see, the one thing they have on there is cash value life insurance. That goes under the asset column of a PFS, a personal financial statement, because it's guaranteed to go up in value. And the conventional bank,
Yeah.
they love it when you have cash value life insurance, because they can take that as collateral. If you want to borrow money from them, they will take your life insurance policy as collateral, and they'll make you a loan, because they know there's nothing better for a bank than cash as a collateral. And a cash value life insurance policy is equivalent to cash. Not only is it equivalent to cash, it's better than cash because it has a value that's guaranteed to increase.
And the
opposed
banks
to
already do this
the
anyways,
banks
right?
only use it anyway. That's what they use.
Okay.
Banks are the largest purchasers of
Now,
whole life insurance in the world. And if you don't believe me, go Google something called BOLI, BOLI. Look it up for yourself.
okay. So now, Brent, my last question for you before we kind of wrap it up is, if I'm someone who says, okay, I just heard Brent say this, I want to collateralize my policy. Why would I might want to do infinite banking and just personalize banking for myself rather than try to go collateralize my policy with the bank?
Well, okay. Anyway, I think what you're asking, correct me if I'm wrong, as far as collateralizing your policy. So anytime you take a loan against your policy, the money is not coming out of your account, which is a great thing because all your money's still in the account, growing and compounding in that tax-free environment. Uninterrupted compound interest. Go Google uninterrupted compound interest and see whose picture comes up. All right. So uninterrupted compound interest, right? Which is a great thing. Your money is continuing to grow and you're using the money at the same time. So whenever you take a loan, you're not taking money out of your policy. You're simply putting your policy up for collateral, taking a loan from the general fund of the insurance company. So your money is still
Now,
compounding. Now, if you choose
okay.
to, you could go take a loan from a conventional bank and put your policy up for
Okay.
collateral and borrow the bank's money instead of the insurance company's money. Now, some
But I wouldn't own the policy though at
no,
that time.
yes, you still own the policy. You've just put it up for collateral because if you default on your loan, the bank could take that policy because you collateralized it. The insurance company
Okay.
could take your policy. And again, they don't take your policy if you, okay, so the thing they'll do is they'll take your loan proceeds, any loan money that they've given you, they're going to give that to you in advance, and the policy loan is the prepayment of the death benefit. So the insurance company will
Got
never
it.
take your policy from you, but at the time that you die, and it's not an if you die, it's a when you die past
Yeah,
graduation,
of course. Yeah, when it
right? We
happens,
all have
right?
an expiration date, we just don't know when it is. But when you pass, any loan that you have outstanding will be paid off by the death benefit because they've already given you that money in advance, and your beneficiaries get the additional money tax free. That's why
So,
the insurance company could care less if you pay that loan back or not. They don't care. I mean, right? So even on the policies you own. So like, does the insurance company ever call you up and say, Robert, are you going to pay your policy loan? They could care less
no, man.
because they
No,
know they
they
can't
don't. I
lose.
never get
They
any of
they
that.
know they can't lose. They're going to get paid eventually, even if they have to wait to the time of your death. They're going to get paid.
And
To summarize what you said, Brent, which is a great answer to the question. To summarize what I got from that is a more direct route is it wouldn't kind of make sense for you to want to collateralize your policy with the bank because you want to levy yourself. You want to leverage your policy in itself. And if you were to collateralize with the bank, you can't leverage the policy and collateralize the policy with the bank at the same time. So if I went to the bank and said, "Hey, here's my policy, give me a loan," I can't in turn use that policy and have the loan from the bank at the same time. So I might want to just use the policy and recapture all of my money back in the policy, of course, because if I pay the loan back to the bank keeps all the money that I pay back plus any interest, right?
That is right.
And I just get the policy back.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why I want to do it through
So,
myself, so I can do like you did with multiple planes and houses and so on and so forth.
however, there are places in time where you may want to collateralize with the bank. And a couple of those, without getting too deep in the weeds, is if you have a cash value policy with a company that is direct recognition instead of non-direct recognition, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but if the policy's with the direct recognition company, if you have policy loans from the insurance company, it could affect your dividend payout. Okay. So that might be one reason to collateralize with the bank. Another reason would be maybe, let's say if the bank's going to give you an interest rate of just say 3% on the loan, but the insurance company is going to give you a 5% interest rate on the loan. So you may want to do it to get the lower rate, but there are more restrictions when you collateralize it with a bank instead of the insurance company. So I'm not saying it's bad or good to do it either way. Me personally, I have never collateralized a policy with a bank, ever, ever, ever. I know there's other people that they do it almost every time they collateralize it with a bank. Okay. So it really depends on about 4 or 5 different factors. And it's okay. Like it's best to talk with that client to see who their policy is with. Is it direct recognition or is it non-direct recognition? And so what kind of money are they going to borrow out? And right now, so the interest rate, what is the bank offering and what is the insurance company offering? But if
But at face value,
okay, again, I'm sorry, say it again.
oh no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interject, man. I was just gonna say at face value though, some of the things I took from it though is what do we know, regardless of all the numbers and stuff like that, is you can't control the terms and conditions of the loan, right? You don't keep the money that you pay back or the interest that you would pay back.
You are right. So the thing is that you control everything if you take the loan from the general fund of the insurance company. With the bank,
But not if I do it with the bank.
bank, not necessarily, because the bank is going to require you to make payments back to them on their guidelines. So no matter what, you
Okay.
have to make payments back to the bank. You have to make it based on their payment guidelines that they are telling you to pay back. With the insurance company, you don't have to do any of that.
Yeah, and then when you do pay back with your own policy through the insurance pool, you can then use that money again if you wanted to in the future, because that's a part of your cash value from your life insurance policy. So big difference in the two, even though they have a similar usage. So I appreciate somebody directly answering that question. That was something that I came across actually inside of a presentation I was given. Somebody brought that up, and so for you to answer it the way you did, that's going to help me going forward, man. I thank so much for that,
Yeah.
Brent. And just, of course, being our general agent and at the Money Multiplier, man, and moving forward. I thanks for the interview as well. And guys, make sure you check us out in the moneymultiplier.com, the cashcompound.com, where you can get that education. And of course, I'm going to leave some links in the descriptions. And better investments equals a better future. Guys, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you guys inside the next video.